Hello, 6th graders. Welcome to Big Ideas Math, Contract Math, Section 3.4, 2012 edition, Writing Proportions lesson. Pause while you write Section 3.4, 2012 lesson in your math notebook. Pause again while you write today's lesson objective in your math notebook. Today's objective is write and solve proportions using mental math. Today we'll be starting on page 118 in your textbook. One way to write a proportion is to use a table. So if you look at the table that's here, it has the ringtones over the dollars and the ringtones over the dollars. So it has 2 ringtones over $6 and 3 ringtones over X dollars. So the numerators have the same units and the denominators have the same units. So it says use the columns or the rows to write a proportion. And another way you can do it is to, if you used the rows to write the proportion, you would have 2 ringtones over 3 ringtones and $6 over X dollars. So the units are the same on each side of the proportion. So there's 2 different ways you can do it depending on what you want to do with your proportion. So example 1, writing a proportion. A chef increases the amounts of ingredients in a recipe to make a proportional recipe. The new recipe has 6 cups of black beans. Write a proportion that gives the number X of tomatoes in the new recipe. So it says organize the information in a table. So the original recipe had 1.5 cups of black beans and 1 tomato. The new recipe has 6 cups of black beans and we're not sure how many tomatoes, so we're going to call that X tomatoes. So one proportion is 1.5 cups of beans over 1 tomato. So we just took this and stacked it into a fraction or a proportion down here. And then the new recipe, we took that and we stacked it into a proportion down there. So it's 6 cups of beans over X tomatoes. Example 2, we're solving proportions using mental math. So we're solving 3 halves equal to X over 8. So let's follow the steps here. Step 1, we think the product of 2 and what number equals 8. So 2 times something equals 8. And step 2, because the product of 2 and 4 equals 8, we multiply the numerator times 4 to find X. So this is very similar to what I call the backwards Z in my class. So you go 2 times 4 equals 8, and then 3 times 4 equals 12. So X equals 12. So again, it's just equivalent fractions. So that's all we're working with here when we do proportions is equivalent fractions. So you have to remember that things that are proportional are equivalent. So since you want to keep that equivalency, you just multiply the top and the bottom by the same number. So you can do that in your head. Example 3, another solving proportions using mental math. In example 1, how many tomatoes are in the new recipe? So if you set up your proportion with the cups of black beans on the top and the tomatoes on the bottom, and you follow the steps, you think the product of 1.5 and what number is 6. And with a little thought, you can think that the product of 1.5 times 4 is 6. So you multiply, if you multiply the top by 4 to get to 6, then you have to multiply the bottom times 4. So 1 times 4 equals 4. So there are 4 tomatoes in the new recipe. So x equals 4. Your assignment for this lesson is to complete the following on your own problems, which are also on pages 118 and 119 of your textbook. Be sure to show your work and be ready to share during our next class. Remember, to earn credit for viewing this flipped lesson, you need to complete your exit slip, come to our next class prepared with the journal pages or other work from the flipped lesson completed, be prepared with any work that was assigned in the flipped lesson completed, and be prepared with any questions you have for your teacher, and of course, have a good attitude.